This large and distinct constellation was noted by the ancient Greeks. It bears the name of a beautiful princess who barely avoided being devoured by the sea monster Ketos. She was rescued from her precipitation by Perseus. The Andromeda Galaxy is one of the farthest places from the Earth that can be seen with the naked eye. Andromeda resembles a line of 3 stars above the central one. The spot is visible to the naked eye. Galaxy. Lots of info to be found there. Edgeboard. Set out to explore the solar system. Learn about all the planets. Learn all the info about the moon. Learn about all moons. South Sky. Southern Triangle. Atria. It is the brightest star in the constellation and is a bright orange giant. The star's name is an abbreviation for Alpha Tria, the brightest triangle, or Atria. A constellation with a shape close to an equilateral triangle, one of 2 triangles in the sky, not to be confused with the Triangle, a small constellation of the northern sky. Neighboring constellations are Tucson, Centaurus, and Alta. The smallest constellation discovered by former Dutch navigators during deep-sea expeditions. Constellation was part of another constellation, Adonis, but was separated from it as a separate one by Dutch navigators. Quite pale, but distinct. The Arabs, it was a boat moored at the banks of a star river. The constellation contains many double and star systems. Neighboring constellations include Water Snake, the river. Named after a mythical bird that was said to live for several hundred years and be reborn from the ashes after death. Centaurus. Constellations Southern Cross and Hydra. Alpha Centauri consists of a triple system, 3 stars. According to Greek myths, it commemorates the wisest of the centaurs, the teacher of many heroes, Chiron. A large constellation, which in shape faithfully resembles the figure of a centaur, a creature with the body of a horse and the torso of a man. So, looked like it started with a dipper. Eaten. The art in this game is very pretty. Even constellations: Hydra, the Crow, Leo. The largest zodiacal constellation, although it can only be seen in its entirety in very dark skies, the brightest star of Spica is clearly visible. On maps, the maiden is depicted with an ear of wheat or a blade of grass. According to Greek myths, it represents the goddess of fertility and harvest, Demeter. The constellation's brightest star is Spica. The name means ear in Italian. Among the most interesting objects in the constellation is the cluster in the Maiden. A huge cluster of galaxies bound together by gravity. Across our pillows up to the next star. Constellation is with one of the brightest birds in the sky. It is also shown as a heron, stork, or flamingo. Elna, the constellation's brightest star, shines blue, color indicating a higher temperature than the sun. The constellation was formed in modern times, and there are no legends or myths associated with it. The constellation was formed from part of the southern fish in modern times. Alpha Tucana is the brightest star in the constellation. It is an orange supergiant. One of the many constellations learned during ocean expeditions on the high seas. Explorers who circumnavigated the world came across various unknown natural specimens and served as inspiration for describing the sky. The toucan was one of them. This constellation was named after a tropical bird with a large beak. Yeah, I don't know how you see a lot of things in these constellations. A goat with a mermaid tail. Okay. Sea goat, one of the smallest zodiacal constellations. Pale stars were described by the Sumerians and Chaldeans as a chimera, a creature with the head of a goat and a fish tail. The constellation lies in the part of the sky called the sea, so it houses quite a few watery constellations. Deneb el-Gedi, the brightest star in the constellation, its name comes from the Arabic language and means tail of the goat. As imagined by the Greeks, this constellation represents the Lord, a horned idol who guards shepherds and their flocks. Sud. It is the brightest star in the constellation and comes from Arabic and means happiest. Ancient Egyptians identified the water bearer with the gods of the Nile and believed that it was this constellation that started the annual overflow of the river for crops. One of the oldest known zodiacal constellations. Go up. So Southern Fish, Fomalhaut. Brightest star in the constellation and used to mark a landmark for sailors, and a point dividing the sky into 4 parts assigned to the seasons. The name means fish mouth, or mouth of the whale in Arabic. A small constellation considered the mother of the zodiacal Pisces. Despite its small size, it was depicted as a powerful monster. The history of the constellation dates back to ancient Babylonian times, when it was first described as a fish. Scorpion. Antares. This is the brightest star of the constellation. It can be seen with the naked eye. It glows slightly red, which explains its name, which comes from the Greek phrase similar to Mars. One of the oldest zodiacal constellations, as early as 5,000 years ago, was first spotted by the Sumerians, who called it Gir-Tab, which, according to Greek myths, the scorpion killed the famous hunter Orion in a spectacular duel. Zeus decided to place them both in the sky so the opponents were opposite each other. As the constellation Orion rises, the scorpion disappears beyond the horizon. Speed up. Constellation 2. Serpent Bearer. One of the larger constellations. On either side of it are the separated halves of the Serpent constellation. The constellation's Latin name means snake keeper. According to Greek myths, it depicts the god of the medical arts, Asclepios, who plucked from the snake a magical herb capable of restoring life to the dead. A fragment of the constellation overlaps the ecliptic, due to which some astrologers consider it a 13th zodiacal constellation. Yeah, you can speed up the star drawing a little bit if you want. Scales. Beneskamali. Brightest star of the constellation, its name comes from Arabic and means northern answers, reference to the fact that it once belonged to the constellation Scorpio. In Babylonian times, the stars of this constellation were called Zib-Ba-An-A, balance of the sky. According to Roman myths, they represent Astraea, goddess of justice, who holds the scales. Never would have guessed. Alpha Lupi, the constellation's brightest name, is also sometimes called Kakab, which in Arabic means star left over from the horned bull. Medium-sized constellation, described as early as Babylonian times, when it was identified as a bloodthirsty beast. According to Greek myths, it was an animal pursued by the centaurs or sacrificed to him. In some images, the centaur pierces the wolf with a spear. Although small and faintly visible, it is an easy-to-find constellation that was known to antiquity, originally as the Table of Sacrifice. In Greek mythology, the gods gathered around it to take vows of obedience before going to war with the Titans. For the Hebrews, the significance of the altar was associated with the place where Noah made his sacrifice after surviving the flood. The constellation includes the largest stars ever identified. The constellation in the name does not clarify whether it was meant to represent an Indian or a resident of India. Navigators saw in it a resident of Madagascar they came across during their travels. One of the modern constellations that represent places, objects, shapes, and many other things. Male stars of the constellation contain many galaxies. Diana is the brightest star in the constellation. It comes from Arabic and means right wing of the crow. Small and easily visible constellation, the four brightest stars form a distinctive quadrilateral. In Greek mythology, the crow is punished for trying to fool the god Apollo into staying in the skies forever. According to the myth, the horse cawing of the chicken is the result of the mythical bird's eternal desire. Oh, did I miss one? Alpha Musca. The brightest star in the constellation, it is a white-blue star classified as a subgiant. A modest constellation that can be found in the Milky Way. Next to the darker area of the Milky Way is an interstellar dust cloud obscuring further stars, called the Carbon Sack. Constellation introduced by Dutch navigators, although renamed the Bee for several centuries, was eventually adopted as a fly. I missed this one. Southern Cross. Smallest constellations in the sky, but visible at the brightest point in the Milky Way. Just as the Great Bear used to indicate the direction of north, the Southern Cross shows the direction of south. For the area of New Zealand, the constellation represented an anchor. On the other hand, Australian Aborigines saw it as a stingray racing against two sharks. This constellation is shown as a patriotic symbol on the national flags of Australia, Brazil, and New Zealand, and others. In Australia, this constellation was called the Foot of the Eagle. Yes, a triangle is a male water snake. Beta Hydrae. The brightest star Beta Hydrae was a southern polar star 150 BC. Small pale constellation introduced by Dutch navigators and astronomers. Meaningfully, it is the male counterpart of fellow Hydra. Over years, it has lost several stars of the constellation Octant. The constellation has also been described as a sea serpent, but with no myths or legend associated with it, unknown until modern times. Dalim is the brightest star in the constellation. Its name comes out of the Arabic language, resembling the word ostrich. A small, pale constellation that has not been combined in a pattern for a long time. It is a modern constellation, so there are no myths and legend associated with it. The constellation was named after French chemist Antoine Lavoisier. Studied the combustion process. For many years, it was referred to in its full version as chemical furnace. I think this one might be a whale. The sea monster. Mira, this star changes its brightness. In addition, it moves very fast, leaving behind a luminous tail. Mira means miraculous, because it's a variable star. It disappears and appears in the sky every few months. A vast constellation of about 100 stars, although most of them are not very bright. 3 of them form a triangle called the whale's tail. In Greek myths, it depicts the sea monster Kethos, havoc in the kingdom of Ethiopia. In Greek mythology, Eridanus flowed through Hades, the subterranean realm of the dead. For the Romans, the constellation represented the Po River. For others, the Ray, Nile, Tigris, or Euphrates. Equatorial sky constellation with 4 distinctive stars. With the naked eye, almost 100 stars can be seen, which resemble a long ribbon in the sky, hence the association with a river. It's been discovered that there are Jupiter-sized planets in this constellation. Neb. This yellow star exceeds the Sun in power more than 13,000 times. It is the largest in this constellation. According to Greek myths, the god Hermes placed a hare in the sky to celebrate its agility and speed. Egyptians, on the other hand, believed that this group of stars was the boat of the god Osiris. One of the stars of this constellation, Leporus, is a star surrounded by an atmosphere with a high carbon content. The colors of the star is light and intense red color. Constellation that has many dim and pale stars. It commemorates the biblical bird that brought Noah a branch from an olive tree, which heralded the end of the flood. According to Greek myths, it is Jason's pigeon. Check the dangerous strait, where rocks would join together when someone tried to swim through it. A spiral galaxy can be observed in the constellation, and a massive black hole can be seen in its core. I'm on a boat. Canopus is the brightest star in the constellation and was once an important landmark for ancient sailors. A vast constellation separated by the oversized Argo constellation. Together with the sail, the stern, and the compass, formed a representation of the mythical ship, but alone represents its hull. Distinguished by French astronomer Nicolas Louis de Lacaille. Back there. Nous is the brightest star in the constellation, and their name in Greek means ship. Star-rich constellation combined with three others, the sail, the compass, and the keel, to a rearrangement of a mythical ship. Identified for a French astronomer Nicolas Louis de Lacaille. It's described as the honor of the ship Argo, the ship of the Argonauts. According to Greek myths, it was with it that the sailors went for the Golden Fleece. I can see it. That's not a... So constellation not very visible. Within it has 2/3 of the large Magellanic Cloud, one of the largest satellite galaxies of our galaxy, the Milky Way. The constellation was described by Dutch cartographers and navigators, although over the years it has changed its name once to swordfish and once to goldfish. On maps it was depicted as a golden mackerel, otherwise known as Coryphena. It is a predatory tropical fish. Hydra. Alphard, the brightest star of the constellation, illuminating an empty area of the sky. The largest constellation. The name comes from the mythical deadly creature that Heracles fought. Okay, now that I'm done sneezing. Although Hydra had 9 regrowing heads, only one of them, the last one, is visible in the sky. Some of the Hydra stars of the Hydra tail have been described as Felis, meaning cat. The constellation was that cat was invented in the 19th century and has disappeared until our time. You will remember it. Cup. I can see that one. Faintly visible, small constellation hidden within Hydra and the Crow. Greek mythology, it rearranges Dionysus' cup or Apollo's goblet. Crow got when he was sent to fetch water for Zeus. According to the myth, along the way the greedy crow stopped for figs for a few days, after which it tried unsuccessfully to squirm away from the angry god.